I'm Marie-Claire.
And I'm John, and this is our film of the incredible journey along the Golden Triangle of India.
With Discovery Adventures.
Marie-Claire and I were given the task of discovering the spirit of India during our 2-week trip, beginning in Delhi with the Jama Masjid, an ancient fortified mosque. It is nothing short of magnificent, especially in the early morning sunlight before the smog of Delhi really begins to take hold. Walking through its ancient archway is like stepping back 1,000 years, except for the swarms of foreign tourists thrusting iPads and cameras into every inch of its splendor. Leaving the tranquility of the mosque behind us, we return to the manic streets of Delhi on a white-knuckle tour of the city.
We're already feeling quite immersed in this rich culture, and our senses heightened.
No visit to Delhi would be complete without paying our respects to the father of India, Mahatma Gandhi, at the eternal flame of the Raj Ghat.
The Ganges is viewed as a river of salvation, an everlasting symbol of hope to past, present and future generations. This truly magical but sometimes overwhelming city is where the most intimate rituals of life and death take place. We're really witnessing the energy of these rituals of bathing and burial.
I returned to the river the morning after the festival to find revelers still celebrating, praying, dancing and shaving as they prepared to welcome the morning sun on the banks of the Ganges. The air was still thick with the smell of smoke and incense, with the relative peacefulness broken with the sound of fireworks until there was a roar of praise as the sun emerged from the morning mist. We left Varanasi, crossing the border into Madhya Pradesh region en route to Khajuraho. Khajuraho is known for its elaborate Hindu and Jain temples and is most famous for its erotic carvings, depicting some rather eye-opening scenes from the Kama Sutra. The journey to Agra gave us our first taste of an Indian train station. The trains are enormous and packed to the rafters, but are an essential and unmissable way to travel across the country. We stopped off in Alipura to meet some of the locals before we boarded another sleeper train en route to our most impressive destination.
This is an incredible sight. The Taj Mahal seems to have a life of its own, truly amazing, and is justly placed as one of the 7 wonders of the world. Although it is one of the most photographed buildings in the world and instantly recognisable, actually seeing it is really awe-inspiring. Agra Fort, sometimes called the Red Fort, is another of Agra's World Heritage Sites. The forbidding exterior of this fort conceals an inner paradise. The faces here tell 1,000 stories. This is definitely a highlight of my trip. It's late afternoon and we're off to Ranthambore. This journey is all about people watching. As we leave the madness of the city behind, we begin to experience the gentleness of the countryside.
The intimacy of every train journey means that it's very easy to make new friends over a tasty train snack and a cup of chai. After a bumpy nighttime drive, we were met warmly at our hotel by a local group of musicians and puppeteers who danced late into the night. The next day we were out early in Ranthambore National Park in search of the elusive Indian tigers. We were assured that only yesterday they were spotted on this very path. We waited, and waited, and waited, until our patience was eventually rewarded by the sight of a tiger dressed as a stag. There is, of course, much more to the park than just the tigers, including the incredible Ganesh temple on top of Ranthambore Fort. As the god of good fortune and prosperity, it is traditional for couples to send their first wedding invitation to Lord Ganesh, which is then actually delivered to this very temple. Sadly though, he's never been able to RSVP. We headed back to the hustle and bustle of city life in Jaipur and took a ride through the traffic in a tuk-tuk. The city offers everything from fresh street food to colourful textiles, handmade jewellery and a vibrant mix of ancient Indian cultures and modern, more westernised luxuries. This chap was trying to figure out which side of his elephant the petrol cap was located, but he was also heading up a procession of grooms on their way to a traditional Indian triple wedding. Another early morning was rewarded by an unforgettable trip to the Amber Fort. The fort is so huge that it can only be appreciated by taking a tour on the back of a painted elephant. Sadly, I couldn't do this because I got lost inside its maze-like tunnels and had to be rescued by one of the locals. The guidebooks describe Jaipur City Palace as a feast for the eyes. Unfortunately, they wouldn't let me in with a camera, so you'll have to make do with a shot of this man playing a tune to a snake in a basket. Jaipur is home to an ancient observatory, giving us an insight into India's historical approach to astrology and astronomy by means of these huge Escher-like structures that were used to measure time and to understand the movement of the stars and planets. We were offered one of the best views of the city through one of the 953 windows in the Palace of Winds. The city also gave Marie Claire and I a chance to practice our haggling skills with a local textile salesman. This is not the Indian price.
Yeah.
This is white Englishman price.
No.
He was also more than happy to teach Marie Claire the traditional art of wrapping a sari.
This morning we've driven to the village of Khajuraho. The small town is a hidden gem in the country.
For me, the real beauty of Khajuraho was the absence of tourism. With the assistance of our hotel porter, we tracked down a local potter who very kindly taught us how to make a vase. But this was not a tourist attraction, it was his livelihood, so I decided not to waste any more of his clay and let Marie Claire have a go.
The country around Khajuraho boasts very interesting landscapes, with the picturesque Aravalli Hills in the east. The camel-herding Rabbaris are an ethnic group only to be found around Khajuraho.
We were headed to the station to catch the famous Khajuraho train safari. At Khajuraho train station, as part of their program to always avoid accidents, they still use an archaic mechanical system to ensure that two trains are never using the same single railway track at the same time. The train driver hands a large ball bearing to the signal master, attached to a large piece of rope. The signal master hands the ball to the station master. The station master places the ball bearing into the machine, which is then locked away until the next station on the line sends a signal back that the line is clear. This releases the ball bearing again. The trains cannot leave the station until the signal master gives them back their ball on a rope.
We're on the train travelling to the highest station in the Aravallis. The engine slowly pulls the train through the most beautiful forests and hills.
With the prospect of another Indian safari, I was worried that we'd be sitting quietly again waiting for another infamous tiger. But we were actually escorted most of the way by a troop of monkeys, hungry for passengers' food and attention.
We continue on to Udaipur, famous for its lakes and Raj-era palaces. Rajasthan's most romantic city. It's known as the Venice of the East and holds stage as one of India's truly seductive cities. We're now visiting City Palace, which stands on the east bank of Lake Pichola. These balconies provide fantastic panoramic views. The Jajish Temple is a large Hindu temple in the middle of Udaipur. This temple is a great example of Indian architecture and art. Some of the people here are unforgettable.
It was almost impossible for us to spend a few days in Udaipur without recognizing its great pride in being chosen as a location for the Bond film Octopussy. At 7 p.m, almost every bar and restaurant in Udaipur pulls down a white projector screen and plays the entire film. Every night. But after a ride home with Suleiman in a tuk-tuk, it was us feeling a little shaken, not stirred. And so, our journey came full circle back to Delhi.
What a journey we've been on, from the bustle of Delhi to the serenity and calm of the Taj Mahal. It's been an incredible trip, full of memories to treasure forever.